abducent nerve. So apart from this, the remaining all other muscles are supplied by oculomotor nerve, third nerve. Okay, right. That's all about the extraocular muscles and their actions. So now, just now we discussed the extraocular muscles and their actions. So now we're going to discuss about the ophthalmic nerve. Okay, so ophthalmic nerve, it is a branch of, yes, it is coming from trigeminal nerve, and ophthalmic nerve is a sensory nerve. So we're going to draw one line diagram. So this is the trigeminal ganglion, and the trigeminal ganglion is giving ophthalmic nerve, maxillary nerve, and the mandibular nerve. This is sensory root of trigeminal, and this is trigeminal ganglion. Okay, and this is our ophthalmic nerve. Now, ophthalmic nerve is passing in the lateral wall of the cavernous sinus. So this is our cavernous sinus. So this is ophthalmic nerve. So ophthalmic nerve is passing in the lateral wall of the cavernous sinus, like this. So the lateral wall, yes, it is passing in the lateral wall of the cavernous sinus. Yes. Now, after passing in the lateral wall of cavernous sinus, the ophthalmic nerve is divided into three branches: lacrimal nerve, frontal nerve, and these three nerves, they passes through, they enters the orbit via the superior orbital fissure. This is superior orbital fissure. And superior orbital fissure, we know, we have three compartments. Now, this is the lateral compartment, and this is a common tendinous ring. That is the common tendinous ring. Okay. So now, this is our lacrimal nerve, frontal nerve, and this one is, okay. So lacrimal nerve, frontal nerve, nasociliary nerve, they pass through supraorbital fissure. Which compartment? Just now I told you, the mnemonic, LFT, Sonia. Lacrimal nerve, frontal nerve, they pass through supralateral part of supraorbital fissure. I'm writing SL, supralateral part of supraorbital fissure. And the nasociliary nerve passes through common tendinous ring. Which passes through common tendinous ring. I told the mnemonic Sonia, SONIA. So nasociliary nerve passes through common tendinous ring. Okay. Now see the diagram. Now this is our ophthalmic nerve. The ophthalmic nerve is divided into lacrimal nerve, frontal nerve, and nasociliary nerve. Okay. Now what are the functions? What are the functions of lacrimal nerve, frontal nerve, and nasociliary nerve? Now see this diagram. Now this is our trigeminal ganglion. This is the sensory root of trigeminal nerve, which expands to form a trigeminal ganglion. Now from there, yes, which gives ophthalmic nerve, maxillary nerve, and mandibular nerve below. Now that is ophthalmic nerve. So ophthalmic nerve is divided into, now this one, that is our frontal nerve. Okay, that is our frontal nerve. So frontal nerve divided into supraorbital nerve, and supratrochlear nerve. See, supraorbital nerve and supratrochlear nerve, they carry sensory fibers from the scalp. Okay, general sensory fibers from the scalp and forehead. Okay, and this one is the lacrimal nerve. Lacrimal nerve. Now, lacrimal nerve, which receive the fiber from the zygomaticotemporal nerve. So this nerve I'm talking about, I'm writing as ZT. So zygomaticotemporal nerve joins with lacrimal nerve, and this is a lacrimal nerve. In turn, give the fiber to lacrimal gland. This is a lacrimal gland. It is our lacrimal gland. Okay, right. So this is our nasociliary nerve. Okay, right. Now I'm going to erase all this so that you can mark the branches of nasociliary nerve. So nasociliary nerve gives 5 branches. Okay, so what are those? Now nasociliary nerve, which gives attachment to ciliary ganglion. Now this is our ciliary ganglion, number 1. And the nasociliary nerve, See this one. This is our anterior ethmoidal nerve. That is our anterior ethmoidal nerve. And this one is the infratrochlear nerve. And we have few more branches. Posterior ethmoidal nerve. And this one, that is our posterior ethmoidal nerve. I'm writing as EN, no space here. And this is our long ciliary nerve. I'm writing as LCA alone. Write the nerve name and their function in detail, don't worry. So first one, the branches of nasociliary nerve. Branches of nasociliary nerve. See, name itself you have a clue. Nasociliary nerve. It supplies the nose and also the eyeball. Give fibers to eyeball. Ciliary means eyeball. Okay. Now number one, gives attachment to ciliary ganglion. Gives attachment to ciliary ganglion. Ciliary ganglion, next we're going to discuss that only. Number two, anterior ethmoidal nerve. Anterior ethmoidal nerve. See, anterior ethmoidal nerve function, which supplies, which gives the fibers to anterior ethmoidal sinus. Okay, which also gives fiber, carry the fiber from the mucosa of the nasal cavity. Mucosa of the nasal cavity, and which also supplies the dura of anterior cranial fossa. Anterior cranial fossa. Okay. Yes. Now what about the posterior ethmoidal nerve? See, posterior ethmoidal nerve, which supplies posterior ethmoidal sinus, and also sphenoidal sinus. Okay. Okay. Number 4, long ciliary nerve. Long ciliary nerve carries general sensory fibers from the eyeball. General sensory fibers from the eyeball. Okay. Last one, infratrochlear nerve. Infratrochlear nerve, again sensory nerve. Okay. So now these are the branches of ophthalmic nerve. Okay. Right. So now I told you the nasociliary nerve is giving attachment to ciliary ganglion. So we're going to discuss one last parasympathetic ganglion, that is our ciliary ganglion. Okay. So like other parasympathetic ganglion, you have to know the topographical attachment, functional attachment, muscles supplied, and what are the parasympathetic pathway for this. Okay. Now the ciliary ganglion, first know the location. See the diagram. Now in this diagram, yes, we removed the lateral rectus muscle. That is the lateral rectus muscle. So we remove the lateral rectus muscle, and this is our optic nerve. Now between the optic nerve and the lateral rectus muscle, we are seeing this ganglion, ciliary ganglion. So ciliary ganglion, it is present between lateral rectus muscle and optic nerve, which is present close to the apex of the orbit. It is present very close to the apex of the orbit. Okay, right. Next one. Topographically or anatomically, the ciliary ganglion attached to nasociliary nerve. Just now I told you, nasociliary nerve attachment to ciliary ganglion. Nasociliary nerve. But functionally, the ciliary ganglion attached to oculomotor nerve, third nerve. Okay, right. Next, what are the branches coming from ciliary ganglion? See, we have a specific name for this. So we have short ciliary nerve. So ciliary nerve, short ciliary nerve, they are the branches of ciliary ganglion. Again, we have 8 to 11 short ciliary nerve. So short ciliary nerve, they are the branches of ciliary ganglion. Okay, again we have 8 to 11 short ciliary nerve. Now, why we have to know this? See, the short ciliary nerve carries parasympathetic root, sympathetic root, and sensory root. So all the roots are carried by short ciliary nerve. So short ciliary nerve is a single nerve which carries all the roots of ciliary ganglion. Ciliary ganglion have 3 roots: parasympathetic root or motor root, sympathetic root, and the sensory root. Okay, so these are 3 roots of ciliary ganglion: parasympathetic root, motor root, parasympathetic or motor, sympathetic route, sensory route. We have 3 routes of ciliary ganglion. So all the routes are passing via short ciliary nerve. Clear? Right. So now we're going to discuss, yes, these 3 routes. Parasympathetic route, sympathetic route, and sensory route. Right. Now first, we're going to write parasympathetic route. I told you parasympathetic route, also known as motor route. Now the parasympathetic route is derived from nerve to inferior oblique, which is derived from nerve to inferior oblique. Okay, right. Now we're going to trace a pathway from the Edinger-Westphal nucleus. So fibers come from Edinger-Westphal nucleus. From there, the third nerve carry the fibers. So from the third nerve, the fibers are given to inferior division of oculomotor nerve. From there, the fibers are given to nerve to inferior oblique. So from nerve to inferior oblique, the fibers are given to ciliary ganglion. Now from ciliary ganglion, via short ciliary nerve, supplies 2 muscles, sphincter pupillae muscle and ciliaris muscle. So please remember, 95% of fibers supply ciliaris muscle and 5% fibers they supply the sphincter pupillae muscle. Okay, right. Now this is the parasympathetic pathway or the parasympathetic route or motor route for the ciliary ganglion. So parasympathetic route or motor route supplies which muscle? Sphincter pupillae muscle and ciliaris muscle. Via which nerve? Third nerve. So in the case of third nerve injury, again these 2 muscles paralyzed. So these 2 muscles, yes, they are supplied via the third nerve, the nerve to inferior oblique, carry the fibers. Okay, right. That's all about the parasympathetic route or motor route. Next, sympathetic route. Next is the sympathetic route. Now sympathetic route is derived from the plexus over internal carotid artery, which is carrying the fibers from superior cervical ganglion. And these fibers, they pass through ciliary ganglion without any relay, no relay, and they supply only one muscle, dilator pupillae muscle. Okay, so this is about the sympathetic route. From ciliary ganglion, via which nerve? Short ciliary nerve, they supply the dilator pupillae muscle. So dilator pupillae is supplied by, please put one box and then write. Again, one time they gave this question in the AIIMS exam, but very old question. Dilator pupillae is supplied by post-ganglionic sympathetic fiber from superior cervical ganglion. Okay, so dilator pupillae is supplied by post-ganglionic sympathetic fiber from superior cervical ganglion. So fibers from superior cervical ganglion, the plexus of internal carotid carry the fibers. They passes through ciliary ganglion without any relay and supply the dilator pupillae muscle. So the fibers are passes through ciliary ganglion, sir. Yes, the fibers are passing through ciliary ganglion only. So why we are not mentioning the ciliary ganglion? The fibers are passes through ciliary ganglion, but fibers are not relayed. So we are not bothered about ciliary ganglion. So fibers from superior cervical ganglion, post-ganglionic. Fibers are coming from superior cervical ganglion, post-ganglionic. What fiber? Sympathetic fiber. From which ganglion? Superior cervical ganglion. Clear? So dilator pupillae muscle, yes, is supplied by post-ganglionic sympathetic fiber from superior cervical ganglion. Shall we proceed? One last route is there, sensory route. Sensory route is very simple. So sensory route is derived from nasociliary nerve. Sensory route is derived from nasociliary nerve. Okay. The sensory route which carries general sensory fibers from the eyeball. Which carries general sensory fibers from the eyeball. Okay. Right. So these are the 3 routes of our ciliary ganglion. So one last point. Now we're going to write the difference between long ciliary nerve and short ciliary nerve. So we have long ciliary nerve and short ciliary nerve. Okay. Now long ciliary nerve is a branch of nasociliary nerve. Very good. Short ciliary nerve is a branch of ciliary ganglion. Branch of ciliary ganglion. Okay. Now how many long ciliary nerve we have? We have only one long ciliary nerve. Short ciliary nerve, we have 8 to 11. Now what is the function of long ciliary nerve? Which carries general sensory fibers from the eyeball. General sensory fibers from the eyeball. Whereas short ciliary nerve carries again 3 roots. Parasympathetic root. All the roots are carried by short ciliary nerve only. Parasympathetic root, sympathetic root, sensory root. So all the roots are carried by our short ciliary nerve. Okay, right. So these are some basic difference between the short ciliary nerve and the long ciliary nerve. And that's all about the ciliary ganglion. Now we're going to see the animations for orbit and the extraocular muscles. Now see here. Now we are seeing, yes, one ring there. I think you are seeing clearly there. That is our common tendinous ring. One ring. Yes. Now common tendinous ring will provide origin to 4 straight muscles. Now those muscles are called as rectus muscle. Superior rectus, medial rectus, lateral rectus and the inferior rectus. Okay. Now only one muscle, the extraocular muscle, which is coming from the floor of the orbit. Now see here. That is the inferior oblique muscle arising from the floor, maxilla bone. From their inferior oblique muscle, that is the only extraocular muscle arising from the floor of the orbit. Okay. Now all other muscles, they will be arising close to the apex of the orbit. Right. Now you are seeing the common tendinous ring clearly. Right. Now what are the structures passing through common tendinous ring? 4 structures will pass through. I told you mnemonic also. SONIA is a mnemonic. Now this is our superior division of oculomotor nerve. Superior division of oculomotor. And this one, that is our inferior division of oculomotor nerve. And just above, that is our nasociliary nerve. This one, nasociliary nerve. And this one, that is our abducent nerve. Abducent nerve. So these 4 branches. So now this is superior division of oculomotor. Above nasociliary. This is inferior division of oculomotor. And we are seeing one more nerve entering there. That is our, yes, our abducent nerve. The abducent nerve is passing. So mnemonic SONIA is a mnemonic. Okay. Right. So now we're going to see the, yes, this nerve. This is our trochlear nerve. See, trochlear nerve is not passing through the common tendinous ring. It is passing through the supralateral compartment of the superior orbital fissure. That's a trochlear nerve. Yes. Now see, this is our trigeminal ganglion. And this is our ophthalmic nerve. This is a maxillary nerve. And below is a mandibular nerve we have removed. So now you see that is the, yes, ophthalmic nerve. Now ophthalmic nerve will give 3 branches. That is our frontal nerve. This is lacrimal nerve. And the nasociliary nerve. Can you see the nasociliary nerve here? The nasociliary nerve, which is going inside the common tendinous ring. Just now we have seen that. Now see this branch. Now this is a maxillary nerve. Give this communicating branch to the lacrimal nerve. This is zygomatic branch given to lacrimal nerve, and the lacrimal nerve which in turn carry the fibers to the lacrimal gland. Okay. It's a communicating branch from the maxillary nerve. Now this is our frontal nerve. The frontal nerve which in turn divided into supraorbital nerve and supratrochlear nerve. They carry the sensory fibers from the forehead. Next, we're going to see the ganglion, ciliary ganglion. But here not able to see the ganglion. If you want to see the ganglion, the first and foremost thing, you have to remove one muscle. This muscle, our lateral rectus muscle. You have to remove the lateral rectus muscle. If you remove the muscle, then you see the optic nerve. Now between the optic nerve and the lateral rectus muscle, yes, we are seeing the ganglion. It is the ciliary ganglion present between the optic nerve and the lateral rectus muscle. Clear? Now you are seeing the branches there. Can you see the small branches? These are nothing but short ciliary nerve. Short ciliary nerve, please remember, they are the branches from our ciliary ganglion. Ciliary ganglion will have 3 roots. Now these are the 3 roots. This is the sensory root of ciliary ganglion. And this is the sympathetic root of ciliary ganglion. And this one is the, yes, parasympathetic root. The nerve to inferior oblique will carry the parasympathetic fibers to the ciliary ganglion. Okay. Right. Now these are the few points, basic points about the ciliary ganglion.